There's snow on the ground, and that means it's time for me to try one of the things on my to-do list. Welcome back to another week of Wisconsin's Outdoor Explorer podcast. I hope you are having a great week. I know it has been a super snowy week. I just can't believe this. It's like the first 2 months of winter, we've had basically nothing, and now we're just getting dumped on. As I'm cutting this podcast right now, we're just finishing up the big storm of Valentine's week, where we got in central Wisconsin, got at least over 12 inches, close to probably 15. It's been a crazy February as far as snow goes. It's basically winter's been waiting for February to get here so that it can give us everything it's got. But this is what we live for, right? This is what we are about in Wisconsin. We're about snow and getting out in the snow and enjoying the snow and showing others that the snow doesn't slow us down. So as treacherous as the roads have been and how much snow we've gotten, it's been worth it. It's been fun to have it and it's been fun to see it and been fun to be able to play in it a little bit too. So I know the snowmobile trails are opened up and guys are finally out riding and that's good. We need that. We need to get everybody out there and get everybody enjoying what winter has to offer. But let's get started on today's show. One of my goals for this podcast and one of my personal goals is to try new things, try things that I haven't done before and to take those things and share them with you and hopefully give you enough information so that you can make a decision whether or not you want to try those things. You know, I hope most of the things I do encourages you to try them yourself. And you know, I'm going to be the first to admit that there are a lot of things that I haven't done or haven't seen in Wisconsin. And one of my goals is to continue to experience as much as what this state has to offer in my lifetime. I mean, I'm never going to see it all or do it all, but I at least want to try it. You know, get out and try as much as I can and share those experiences with you and share those experiences with my family and just enjoy everything that Wisconsin has to offer. So for those of you that have been following my podcast, listening to the podcasts and have listened to some of the earlier ones, I did one where I set some goals for the year. Some of it was podcasting goals. Some of it was things I want to see and things I want to do. And one of those things that I wanted to try this year was snowshoeing. It's been one of those things that I've always wanted to try and just never got around to doing it. Was always doing something and just never did it. And I really wanted this year to be the year that I did that. So you can imagine how disappointed I've been with the first 2 months of winter. I mean, in order for you to snowshoe, you need snow. So the whole month of December and January, we never had any accumulating snow. We get a dusting here, or you get a few inches, and then the next day it would get 40 degrees and pretty much be gone. So we went 2 months, Perner, with no snow on the ground. It was almost in my plans to say, you know what, maybe let's go up north. There's some places up there we can try snowshoeing and see, what we can find. But we waited, and of course, February hit. And now it won't stop snowing. So, I mean, in the first 2 weeks of February, I think we've had at least 3, maybe even 4 good winter storms here that have produced at least 6 inches of snow each time. We got our snow here in central Wisconsin finally. And the thing is, these storms have pretty much hit the whole state. So the whole state should pretty much be covered with snow, which is great because it allows us all to get out there and do what we want to do. But it's also allowed me and my family to try something new and try snowshoeing. So we did. We finally decided a couple weekends ago to take the whole family out and take our first steps on some snowshoes. And we finally found a weekend where basically all the stars aligned. My daughter didn't have any games going on. My wife didn't have to work. But we ran into a bit of an issue. It was super cold that weekend. I mean, we woke up and I think it was like 10 below, 15 below. And we weren't sure if we were going to go. We were like, this might be too cold for the kids. It might be too cold for us. So we thought we were just going to have to push it off to the next open weekend that the whole family was going to have. So we kind of did our own thing in the morning, and around lunchtime we checked again, and the sun was out, and the temperature was finally creeping into the mid-teens. And when you stepped outside, it was perfect. I mean, it really felt nice. It was the sun beating on you, just warmed you up enough. So we were like, you know what? Let's do it. Let's go out there and let's try this snowshoeing thing. Let's see what this is all about. Packed all the kids up, got everybody got dressed and got in their gear, and we decided to hike 9 Mile Forest Recreation Area in Marathon. And for those of you that aren't familiar with 9 Mile, it is a really, really cool place. It's over 4,000 acres of land, and there's biking trails, there's hiking trails, there's people ride horses back there. I mean, you can cross-country ski. There's a lot to do. And what we liked about it was that it offered 4 different trails, snowshoe trails, that are just for snowshoeing. And the shortest one went from 4 kilometers up to 10 kilometers. And the best part about all this was that they rent snowshoes. So that really worked well for our family because we weren't about to go out and buy, 5 sets of snowshoes so we could try snowshoeing. It didn't make sense for us. We wanted to go out and try it. If we liked it down the road, we could get our own snowshoes and go from there. So we got to 9 Mile, and 9 Mile is just west of Rib Mountain, for those of you that don't know. And like I said, it's a really neat place, and it's a place that you should put on your bucket list, that you need to check it out. Again, especially if you like hiking, if you like, if in the summertime, if you like biking, they've got a lot of mountain bike trails. They do races out there, and I think they do even a 24-hour bike race out there during the summertime. So it's a really cool place. Like I said, a lot of hiking trails. They do horseback riding, and people are always raving about it around here, about getting out to 9 Mile and enjoying 9 Mile. So definitely check it out. So we get in there and we enter the chalet and we pick up our snow passes and our snowshoes. And I'm going to tell you, the cost was actually pretty reasonable. We had to pay for 2 adult passes. All of our kids got in, didn't have to pay for trail passes. So we had the 2 adult passes. We had 5 sets of snowshoes, and it all came up to under $50. And for us, that's pretty good. I mean, a family of 5 can do it for under $50 like that. And they gave us a map. So we went outside, we put our snowshoes on, which is kind of funny because, first time doing it, they weren't hard to figure out, but being that they were rentals, you could tell they were adjusted a lot. It took us a little bit to get all the kids adjusted just right. And even then, I don't know if they really fit them really well. It took a while for even my wife and I to get ours adjusted correctly too, because it was just like, they're rentals. I mean, they're not set for our shoes, or, we couldn't set them at home and really make sure that they were good. But, that's part of the game. That's part of renting equipment. We finally got everything adjusted, and the kids were excited. They were ready to hit the trails. We made sure theirs were on first. Everybody got their stuff on, and we finally set out on our first snowshoe adventure. Our first steps on the trail took us through some really tall pine trees that are lined up in perfect order. They were obviously planted that way, but it was spectacular. And this is just the start of this trail. So you're going in and you're surrounded by these really tall pine trees, and they're all covered in the recent snowfall that we had. So they were just accented beautifully. It was just I'm thinking to myself, this is going to be great. If the whole trail looks like this is going to be a fantastic hike. I was so excited, and we were just having a good time. And the thing about 9 Mile is they don't groom their trails. I know there's some places that offer snowshoe trails that they groom their trails and make them nice and stuff, but here the hikers groom the trails. So we were fortunate enough that some previous snowshoers had been out either the day or that week, earlier that week, and they had a pretty decent trail packed down. So it wasn't perfect. It wasn't completely hard packed, but I mean, you still needed your snowshoes, but it was at least nice because there was a trail there for everybody to follow. So the only issue that I had with it was that it was all single file. I mean, there was no side-by-side walking, so it made it kind of hard to, talk to each other while we were on the trail. But we made it work. We sent our 2 older kids out front so that they could be the leader of the group, and then my wife and I stayed with the little one and kind of took turns with her bringing up the rear because it took her a long time. So here we are. We got our snowshoes on. We're heading down the trail, and things were doing pretty good. We took us a little bit of time to get used to walking in snowshoes. One of the things that we realized pretty quickly was how much slower we were walking with snowshoes than we do like on our typical hikes. Usually our typical hikes, we don't go fast, but we keep moving pretty good. But, we got a half an hour in, and we noticed right away that our pace was going to be slow. And again, we were okay with that. We were taking in the scenery, the forest there. It was just beautiful. I mean, like I said, the snow was just absolutely perfect around there. So the thing, we almost overdressed a little bit because we were so worried about the cold, but we didn't realize that it was going to be such a good workout that we would be warm. I mean, my kids were complaining 15, 20 minutes into it that they were getting hot. So, you're teaching them how to open things up and vent a little bit. But yeah, we were definitely comfortable. We weren't cold on the hike. So that was kind of nice that we didn't have to worry about that because, man, there's nothing worse than dealing with cold kids on a hike. And even ourselves, it's like nobody wants to be cold. I should say this, before we started, we decided we were just going to do the 4K loop. We didn't want to do a lot because we really just weren't sure what we were going to get into. So we felt the 4K would give us a good taste of snowshoeing without tiring us out a whole lot. But after about a half an hour into our hike, we realized that we took the wrong way. You could either go in one way on the trail or you could go in a different way. And the way we chose wasn't close to where the 4K loop was. So we realized we took the wrong trail. And instead of going towards the 4K, we were on the 6K. Now, at first we didn't think nothing of it. It was 2:30, plenty of time. We knew we were walking a little slower, but still, it's 6K. It's just under 4 miles. We do that a lot. Every time we hike, we're out there for 3 or 4 miles. So it wasn't a big deal. So we decided to continue. And honestly, this is where we probably made our first mistake. We should have turned around after about a half an hour, 40 minutes and went back. The way their trail system works is you can go both ways. So you don't have to go in one and go all the way around. You can turn around and come back. And she even told us that when we got there. We decided that, half an hour, let's just keep going. Let's see how far we get. And then if we get too tired, we'll turn around and come back. So about an hour into our hike, we finally find a trail marker. And I should say this because I don't want to make it sound like their trails weren't marked. They did a very good job of having trail markers that said snowshoe trail all the way along. The thing that I was kind of disappointed in is that they didn't have a lot of location markers, like the ones I'm talking about where you get the little map, you are here type map. We only found like 3 of them, I think, on the trail. And I wish we would have gotten a few more of them. I think that would have helped us make a little bit more informed decision about how far in we should have went. But nevertheless, the trails were marked very well. And it was very hard to get off trail, especially since it was already broken when we got there. There were a few times where we wish we would have had actually a little bit more "you are here" type marker with a trail map. We had our trail map, but again, there wasn't a lot of references to, oh, this is where we are and this is where we're going and that. So that was a little disappointing. And we weren't the only ones who said that. We ran into another couple on the trail, and they kind of said the same thing, that they wish there would have been a little bit better marking system for them. But now we're in about an hour. Kids are starting to get a little restless. So we decide to, take a little break. Everybody got a snack. Everybody had some water. And we decided, you know what, we're already an hour in. It doesn't make sense to turn around and go back another hour. Let's finish it off. We must be at least halfway through. And the other thing is the scenery is still just gorgeous through here. I mean, you walk right through the woods and there's a lot of twists and turns and it was just a really beautiful day to be out in the woods. I mean, winter was on full display here for us. So, I mean, it was hard to not take that all in. We met a few other hikers on the trail that were hiking, but for the most part, it was pretty quiet. There was a lot of people cross-country skiing, and we could see them, in the distance on some of the trails. Some of you do cross some of the cross-country trails, but I mean, you could always see somebody. But for the most part, the snowshoe trails were pretty empty, and I think we ran into maybe 3 or 4 couples the whole time we were out there. But 2 hours into our hike, kids are really getting worried. And, my wife and I are having a hard time trying to reassure them and keep them motivated and keep them going. And we reassured them that we still had plenty of light, nothing to worry about. It stays light until 5:30. We're fine. And that the chalet stays open until I think almost 9 o'clock at night. So it's not like we're going to be alone out here. There's people here. So that kind of eased them a little bit, but you could still tell there was a little bit of, worry in their look and in their tone a little bit. So, and when we finally did reach the chalet, you can see, I'll be honest, we were all pretty well relieved. I mean, at this point, we had been hiking for Perner 2.5 hours. And I'm going to tell you, I was tired. My wife was tired. Our kids were tired. And they were done. They were done. And none of us, I guess, realized how good a workout that was going to be for us. That we thought that, how much different than hiking can this be? And it was quite a bit different. It does change kind of the way your motion and the walk that you do is a little bit, or you're more conscious of the way you walk because of the snowshoes. So it did give you a workout, and we were tired. We were all pretty tired when we got back to the truck. And when we did get back to the truck, all my kids kept saying that they would never snowshoe again. Which I think was kind of funny, the oldest is 10. I'm like, that's kind of a bold statement there, but my wife and I honestly had mixed feelings about the whole experience. I mean, we both enjoyed being out there and hiking, but I think because the kids towards the end weren't having such a great time, that it made it a little bit more difficult for us to enjoy it too. And honestly, we did do a few things wrong. We didn't anticipate how slow we would be going. And we also didn't anticipate how difficult it was going to be for our youngest. I mean, she struggled. She struggled about a half an hour into it, and I give her credit. Man, she was a trooper. She hung in there. She cried a little bit, but she kept moving. She never stopped moving. And Mom had to help her out and carry her a little bit, but she did get through it, and I'm proud of her for that, because boy, that was tough on her after a while, that she did struggle with that and kept right on and going with the rest of us. So we probably should have looked for maybe a really short trailer, maybe just turn around and come back after about a half an hour. That probably, I think, would have changed everybody's attitude completely. The other thing that we probably didn't do very well was we probably didn't ask clearly enough at the chalet before we started about the course and how the course worked and where the 4K was. That would have been smarter on our part. But I got to tell you though, overall, I thought it was a good experience. I enjoy hiking in the summer and the fall and the spring, and this just opened a door to keep enjoying hiking in the wintertime. And I'm going to tell you again, 9 Mile is a great place to hike. It's really, really a beautiful place, and it's well set up, and the people are friendly that work there, and so it was a really good experience. And honestly, I think it probably would have been a better experience if it would have been something that maybe my wife and I would have just done on our own, because that 6K was a lot for the kids. It was a lot. I mean, I'll be honest, I was feeling it too at the end. So it was a lot for me, for somebody who's never done it before, to go out and do that much. I think it would have been better for us to ease into it a little bit more. get a feel for how they work, and tackling a 6K was probably a bit much for our first time. But you know what? Now we know what to expect. We've got that experience under our belt, and we've got an idea of how to do it and how to prepare for it the next time. And I think there will be a next time. My kids would tell you otherwise, but I can see my wife and I doing this in the future again. It might be smarter for us now to purchase some snowshoes and do it in our backyard. We've got a little bit of land where we could just, blaze some trails on our own and just get used to doing that workout a little bit more before we actually do a big long hike. But I'm really proud of my family and proud that we tried it and enjoyed it for the most part, except towards the end. But I think it's important to get out there and try new things, even as an adult, to try these things. I think the other thing that's important is when you're trying these new things is to realize that you're not always going to enjoy them. And that's okay. I always get a kick out of some of these travel shows that, oh, this is great and this is fantastic, and everything they do, they love doing. And I find that hard to believe. You're not going to like doing everything that you try. And it's okay to say that. I mean, it's okay to say, I didn't like doing this. I didn't like doing that. Or I really enjoyed it, and I think you should try this too. So it's okay that my kids didn't like it their first time out. It just means that we got out, we tried something new, and maybe we just got to adjust the way we do it the next time we try it, if we try it again. So when you hear me talking about things like this, I'm just want to be honest with you. That's why I'm here. I want to be honest with you. I want to share my experiences with you, and I want to tell you the truth about how it really went down for me and how it really worked for me. We learned a lot about snowshoeing, and we learned what to do better next time. I do see myself doing it again. I liked it. I liked how it got me out on a trail and how it did make it easier to hike on that trail because of the shoes. And, anything that can get me out there to being one of Wisconsin's outdoor explorers is always a good thing. So would I recommend snowshoeing to you? I would. If you like getting outside, if you like hiking, give it a try if you haven't tried it. If you are a snowshoer, you know what? Feel free to share some of your tips with us. Message me on Facebook or, send me an email. Go to the website, send me an email. Just give me some tips on what works better and what doesn't. I'm always willing to learn more and willing to, help educate others on what works and what doesn't. So finally got something off my bucket list for the year and tried snowshoeing. I liked it. I see myself doing it again, and I hope my little adventure helps you to decide whether or not you want to try snowshoeing if you haven't done it. So that's going to do it for this week's episode. Thanks for joining me on the Wisconsin's Outdoor Explorer podcast. I am your host, Jason, and I will talk to you next week. Thanks for listening to the Wisconsin's Outdoor Explorer podcast. For more great information about being an outdoor explorer, visit our website at wisconsinsoutdoorexplorer.com. Be sure to check out the blog page and follow us on social media. And don't forget to subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.